Good morning and welcome on board TMI Socials, where we explore different stories, top trending stories and videos in the world of socials. We also get the opportunity to look at comments and reactions from netizens on these stories. Now, for our first story, which we'll be taking reactions on, despite repeated public sensitization campaigns, indiscriminate waste dumping continues to plague Lagos. The Lagos State Management Authority, LOMA, has flagged Akpabio Link Bridge as a recurring hotspot for this illegal act. On the 20th of May, 2025, a LOMA field officer, with the help of a civic-minded trader, captured damning footage of a habitual offender dumping refuse at the same location. Authorities say the individual has been engaging in this act for months, undermining the efforts of PSP operators and endangering public health. Investigations are now underway to track the offender through his license plates. Now let's see a footage of him doing this illegal act, and we'll see a video also of LOMA officers actually accosting him at his home, and then we'll go on to take reactions. Okay, so that is the video of him committing this act. Now let's get to see what netizens are reacting to this. The first one says, it's not enough arresting this man if the local government does not provide a place where the residents domiciled in that community or locality can dump their refuse. This will be a continuous problem. Residents can't dump refuse in their houses. And let's take another comment before we move over to our next story. Now, this commenter says, God will punish you people, so you can trace the driver to his house using his plate number, and yet you will rather drag the steering wheel because of 200 naira bribe. Let's just take another last comment on this before we move on to another story anyway. This one says, I support, even if there is nothing else I do for Nigeria, I do not throw even biscuit wrap just anywhere. It's a terrible habit, I beg. Well, kudos to you. And I think all of us should try to learn, not to make a bad habit a norm. Now let's move over to the next story, which we have for you on TMI Socials today. Now, in recent statements at the Taraba International Investment Summit, Vice President Kashim Shettima lauded Aliko Dangote for his monumental $19 billion investment in the Dangote refinery. Shettima highlighted that if Dangote had directed this sum into global tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon, or Google back in 2007, his net worth would have soared to over $120 billion today. However, Dangote chose to channel his resources into Nigeria, demonstrating a profound commitment to national development. Let's see a clip of, this statement, and then we'll take reactions.
He started this project in 2007-2008. If he had invested the $19 billion that it took him to set up the Dangote refinery in Microsoft, in Amazon, in Google, he's going to be worth $120 billion now. But he decided to invest in his own country. Alhaji Aliko Dangote, we are mightily proud of you. He started this project in 2007-2008. If he had invested the $19 billion that it took him to set up the Dangote refinery, in Microsoft, in Amazon, in Google. He's going to be worth $120 billion now. But he decided to invest in his own country. Alhaji Aliko Dangote, we are mightily proud of you. He started this project in 2007, 2008. If he had invested the 19 billion that it took him to set up the Dangote refinery, in Microsoft, in Amazon, in Google.
Okay, there you got to see a clip from, that video and probably understand what we're talking about. Now, let's see how people are reacting to this statement. This one says, how much is the refinery worth today? And these politicians are really not the best representation we can present. And what about Emefiele's role in all of this? Now, let's take another reaction before we move on to our next story. The next reaction that we see basically on this one says, I applaud his patriotism, but he needs to diversify his investment portfolio because the same people that are praising him are the same people frustrating his efforts. Just my 2 cents, Sha. Well, those are the reactions we'll be taking on that story. Let's move on quickly to the next story we have today. In a heated session at the Nigerian Senate, Senator Henry Saraki Dickson confronted Senate President Godswill Akpabio, cautioning him with the words, "You are not the president of Nigeria." This exchange has sparked widespread discussions about the dynamics within the Senate and the boundaries of authority among its members. Let's see the footage.
No matter the justification, this Senate sitting down and directing that a particular military facility be established, in my view, is overstepping the power. We are encroaching on the powers vested on the President of the Federal Republic, who is the Commander-in-Chief. That's why he's Commander-in-Chief. So I just wanted us to, if possible, rephrase it by saying that they should take appropriate actions. But to direct that, go and establish a military formation in so place, go and do so in another place, is an infraction of the President's power of command and control as Commander-in-Chief. We cannot do so. We can only say they should take appropriate actions, but to say in so.
Oh, well, there is the video. Let's take reactions on this story. This one says, misplaced priorities, absolute abuse of power. The Senate President is doing too much. The worst Senate President in Nigeria, which Nigeria has produced. Well, let's see the next reaction on this one. The next reaction says, Dickson is a 2-time governor of Bayelsa State, have been having issues with Akpabio, a 2-time governor of Akwa State, especially with the unconstitutional suspension of Fubara, the governor of Rivers State. It's good to see someone put in, in his place, because he's started to feel too comfortable as the Senate President. They're both colleagues, both senators. The fact that you're elected the Senate President amongst your colleagues does not make you special. Well, I would say that's a very hot take on that one, and a very rude awakening, I would also say. Over to you, Praise.
Very rude one. I think the actually spilled this. He's not the president of the country, he's just the Senate President who has his own power. But however, over usage of power makes it look like you are beginning to overdo in our local palace. Away from that, the Vice President was applauding or thanking Dangote for investing in the country. I think some of them should be ashamed of themselves. We have politicians who are way richer than Dangote in this country. Some of them decide to take the money out of the shores of Nigeria and invest it somewhere else. But this is a man who is trying all he can to ensure that he puts all his resources in the country. So if other politicians and all people who have actually stolen from our coffers, they start investing into Nigeria, we will move away from here. I once heard of a sitting governor who allegedly built big universities outside this country. and those schools were actually confiscated from him. Now, lastly, in Lagos, I reside in Ikeja most times if I'm in Lagos. There's this particular Air Force Base barrack. They have a very good system to collect a refuge. The Air Force Authority provides them with nylon and all that to collect this refuse. So you hardly see people littering deaths around the community. If Lagos State government, the local government in Lagos can follow suit, provide the people with designated areas where they can gather these things, we will not be having a dirty Lagos. Well, I think this is how far we can go. Thank you very much, Chukwuemeka. We hope to have you again to take us through the world of socials. On behalf